and all these things. How do you answer that question? Yeah.
I just have a question. I'm backtracking a little bit. So the question about does God exist? Like, we just jumped to that, right? So we said we went from nothing to, okay, God exists. Like, how do we know He exists? Like, how is He self-sufficient? You know?
Well, what we can know is we can know certain attributes by the rationale. So, because of all these things that exist, right? What does it tell us? Is that why couldn't you create planet Earth? For example, why would we say that you didn't create planet Earth? Why?
I don't have the capability to.
We don't have the capability because you don't have the power to do so, right? Or the knowledge to even do so. Even if you had the power or the ability to construct, you wouldn't have the knowledge to do all of that, right? So whoever did create this planet Earth, for example, or the entire universe, we know that at least at the very minimum, they must have the power to do all of that. And at the very minimum, they must have the knowledge to do all of that. So what we learn off the bat, just without knowing anything else, is that at the bare minimum, we know that God must be powerful beyond anything anyone can imagine. And when you look at the entire world, the entire universe, and He must be knowledgeable beyond anything anyone can imagine. So we've got two attributes already, which are two of the most important fundamental attributes. Yes.
Don't we also have to understand that He has to be infinite because we are not infinite, and so if we were to say that it was created by a finite thing, then it would just go back to cause and effect wherever.
So if it goes all the way back.
Like what I'm saying is that whoever the original cause was, or the original creator was, has to be infinite and has to be outside the natural law. Because if not, then if they're infinite, then they have to be created.
Right, that too.
So that's another attribute.
That's another attribute, yes. Unbounded in time and space. Okay? Does that answer your question? Okay. So, now the question remains, how do we explain suffering? Yes. See, there are many people that make the argument that, well, why, if God is so great and God is so perfect, then why does He allow bad things to happen? Right? And the answer to that is quite simple, is that God is perfect, but that doesn't mean that the world is perfect. Meaning that the world is not perfect in and of itself, but when you realize that the world was created as a testing ground, then the world itself is perfect as a testing ground. So it's perfect in the purpose that it was designed for. And that's what's important. Okay, so when somebody makes a pen, and they say, well, the pen is not perfect, it can break. That's fine, but it's perfect in what it was designed for. It was designed to write, it does that, for example. So the same thing with the world, it does what it's been designed to do. Okay, is that clear? Alright, so let's move on to the next slide. Islam or what? So, if there's some people, if there's any non-Muslims in the audience, for example, they might have, already seen, they saw, this bearded guy sitting up here, and probably in their mind the orange alert probably already raised, And now we're talking about Islam, we're talking about the Quran, and now we say, okay, let's raise it to red alert status, But first, I want you to ask yourself this question, is that, what do you really know about Islam? Okay, not what you've seen on Fox News, not what you've read from Daniel Pipes, not what you've read in some magazine or something. What do you really know about Islam? Not from what he or that person said or from that person is doing, but what do you really know? And this is a question that you really need to ask yourself. And, we realize that there are libraries out there with misinformation. There exist tons of websites. There exists propaganda everywhere against Islam. But if you really want to know something about Islam, you should try and find out the correct sources. Don't just hear and don't listen to each and every single person that wants to talk, every single talking head that's talking about Islam. So the first question you might ask is, well, why should I even care? Right? Well, one of the reasons why you should care is because approximately one out of four people on earth today are Muslim. So that's a big thing, and that's a major thing. So it's one of the major world religions. And beyond that, it's one of the solutions that, it's one of the religions that presents a solution to this question about the purpose of life. So it's something that you should seriously think about. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Islam if you don't already know it. If you don't really know it, then I'm going to tell you a little bit about Islam, but you have to open your mind, you have to open your heart. Because if somebody's telling you something about Islam, or if somebody's telling you something new, and you put your fingers in your ears, you can't claim that you listened to that person. You can't claim that you understood that person. So this is the one fundamental prerequisite before the listening or before trying to learn anything, is that you have to open your mind and heart. So what is Islam? Who knows what the word Islam actually means?
Islam or Salam?
The word Islam itself. What does it literally mean?
Submission.
It means submission and obedience to God, as is there on the slide, right? It means submission and obedience to God. And beyond that, the word Islam also has a meaning of the word peace, because the word salam that the sister mentioned to you in the beginning means peace. And the letters, the three letters, S, L, and M, Sin, Lam, and Mim, they're in common. So what it means is that the person who's submitting themselves to God, they're acquiring peace in their own life by submitting to God. Now when we say Allah, right? Allah is just another word for God. God with the capital G. The way that in Spanish we say Dios, for example. In Greek we say Theos, right? Who speaks another language that knows that would say in a different language they would use the word God? Khuda. In Persian and in Urdu. Anyone else speak a different language? Yes. Rabb. Rabb means Lord in Arabic. Yeah. So, but we're talking just the proper noun, proper pronoun. Okay. So this is just a word. So when certain people, they hear the word Allah, they say, "Oh, you Muslims are worshiping, some other deity." No, it's not worshiping some other deity. Now the important thing is to realize that all prophets were Muslim, and now that's news to a lot of people who know very little bit about Islam. When you tell somebody that all the prophets, from Adam to Noah to Abraham to Ishmael to Isaac to Moses